2023 was easily one of the best years for video games. While many games got a lot of attention, there are still a bunch of fantastic games that are overlooked by many. So let's have a look at these 7 most underrated and overlooked games of 2023. And because I sadly don't have the time to play everything, I brought some content creator friends on to talk about their pick for the most underrated game of 2023. Before we start, what game do you think is totally underrated or overlooked? Let me know in the comments.
John aka Chicken Fillets here, and thank you to my favourite Star Ocean 5 enthusiast Luca from Fieto Gaming for inviting me on to, well, discuss to you about a underrated or overlooked RPG which came out this year. It's an easy choice for me, people. It is Fate Samurai Remnant. Now, the Fate series in general, in my eyes, whether it's the animes or whether it's the games, is kind of underappreciated, which is a damn shame because you know what? The story involved with these series are really good. Now, this game is set in Edo, Japan, where you play as Lori, who has his servant known as Saber. And this is a battle of life and death for the Wax Moon ritual. So basically, whomever comes out on top of this is granted the ultimate wish of their choice. This game is just gorgeous as well. Now, if you know me, I love my cel shaded graphics. It is timeless in games, and this has it in droves. The combat in this game is so slick and so fast paced. Now, it was made by the team who made all the Dynasty Warriors games, so you can imagine what kind of combat it has in here, but it's more in a smaller platform instead of huge battlefields that you would see in these Dynasty Warrior games. Another thing I really do appreciate about this game is when the characters interact with each other. You could see every emotion played out, whether it's through the voice acting or just the art style where the characters talk in the corner. It's just amazing. It's just a damn shame that no one seems to be talking about it after its release. It seems to be forgotten, but realistically, this game has to be played by everyone. It's such a good time to be had. But anyway, thank you to Luca once again for having me on to waffle on about, well, Fate Samurai Remnant, the only game out of this list that you should play. But what are your actual thoughts about this game? Well, let me and Luca know in the comments down below. Anyway, until next time, tate bye!
Hey everybody, Eric here. Thank you so much, Luca, for having me on today to chat about what I consider to be my most underrated title of 2023. And for a game that's released by Square and is a JRPG, you wouldn't really think that those and underrated go together. Well, I think you'd be surprised because Star Ocean Second Story R, being my most underrated game of 2023, is actually a really standout title and one that I think is going to be overlooked by a lot of people. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Reason number one being it's not Final Fantasy. It's a game that has long stood within the shadow of Final Fantasy, and to be honest, if you're just a casual observer of the Square games or just a casual enjoyer of turn-based games, you probably really haven't given a lot of consideration or a lot of thought into playing a Star Ocean game. Secondly, this is the second game in the long storied franchise of Star Ocean, and you might not necessarily want to jump into the second installment. And thirdly, it's a remake of a game that came out on the PlayStation 1. That might be a turn off to some people, but at the same time, this is one of the most standout games of 2023. Don't worry about comparisons to Final Fantasy. It is its own thing. And to be honest with you, I've never played a Star Ocean game until I played the Second Story R. This is a benchmark for what HD 2D games should be looking like. Gorgeous sprite work coexisting with some faux 3D environments and areas. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. There's also voice acting, and oh yeah, the story is really great as well. You can choose between either Claude C. Kenny or Reyna. Both have the same main story, but there are different story points. Both have the same story, but there are some different elements to those stories. You can recruit different characters depending on who you pick, and not every playthrough is going to be the same as well. So there's a lot of replayability here. And I think there's also like 100 endings in this game. So there's a lot to do and see. And of course, the driving force behind that is the awesome action-based battle system. It's not your typical turn-based interface, fair if that's what you're used to, but it is relatively easy and a little bit button mashy if you're set to the easy difficulty just for story enjoyment like I was. At the same time, you can also ramp up the difficulty and have a more challenging experience, which is totally welcomed as well. This is a really great and standout game, and honestly, in my opinion, is a gateway game for the Star Ocean series. Of course, I've only played this one, but now I'm looking at getting into some other games as well. So there you have it. Star Ocean Second Story are a fantastic and very faithful remake and a great entry point for Star Ocean newbies such as myself. Honestly, I think it's really great, and you might just get the bug for the Star Ocean games. So anyway, thank you so much, Luca, for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat about this amazing game that you might not have checked out. So after this video, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Go check out this game. It's really well worth your time. Thanks again, and take care.
Master Detective Archives Raincode is a spiritual successor to the beloved Danganronpa series, developed by both 2Kyo Games and Spike Chunsoft. The main protagonist of Raincode is a young boy by the name of Yuma Cocohead, a newbie detective in training who mysteriously suffers from a terrible case of amnesia. Yeah, I know, a typical anime JRPG trope that has plagued us for centuries. The game's setting takes place in the rainy city of Kanai Ward, a gigantic metropolis heavily inspired by the cyberpunk aesthetic. Kanai Ward is under control by the Amaterasu Corporation, a megacorp whom even both the World Detective Organization and the government itself cannot break through their defenses. At the beginning of Raincode, Yuma finds himself accompanied by, well, more like possessed by, the cute and upbeat death god Shinigami. Raincode takes place across 6 chapters, all filled with different and eccentric characters and locations, and you as the player will alternate between both the real world of Kanai Ward and also the alternate dimension of the Mystery Labyrinth. This otherworldly place is conjured up by Shinigami herself in order to assist Yuma with solving the mysteries that are mirrored back within the real world of Kanai Ward. Inside this Mystery Labyrinth, you'll have to solve the spiritual manifestation of each crime case accordingly. Yuma will have to utilize the solution keys he acquired during his investigations back in the real world so that he can uncover the truth behind each case and expose the crimes of the true culprit within Kanai Ward. At the end of each Mystery Labyrinth sequence, Yuma must finalize the case at hand through the deduction denouement, where he'll fill in comic panels which summarizes the case in its entirety. Be careful, however, if your stamina diminishes completely or the time limit runs out, it's game over for both you and Yuma himself. Master Detective Archives Raincode is an absolutely underappreciated gem by the same team that brought you Danganronpa. I do believe that if you're someone who loves anime, cyberpunk, crime mysteries, and niche games as a whole, then you won't be disappointed with Master Detective Archives Raincode. Make sure you give this game a chance. Thank you so much, Luca from Fato Gaming, for allowing me to talk about Master Detective Archives Raincode. That was my underrated game of choice for 2023. I'm super excited to check out everybody else's decision within this video. So until the next time, everybody, UpperNimbus is signing off.
Thank you for having me on Fato Gaming. When you asked me to be on, I knew instantly what game I was going to pick, that being The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie. This game is massively underrated in so many ways, and just proved that the Game Awards not only have a clear Western bias, but is a sham as well. This should have been nominated for Game of the Year. I've already ranted about that on my own channel though, so I'll cover why this game is so underrated. Salt aside. Trails into Reverie is the pinnacle of turn-based combat in JRPGs. You actually have to play smartly if you want to succeed in battle. You have to make proper use of brave orders, unity attacks, arts, and healing, plus be strategic with arts and crafts. That's just a sign of good game design when the player actively has to engage with every feature thrown at them. But that isn't the real draw for Trails games. If you're playing this series, you're either a massive weeb, or you're a fan of games that favor storytelling over amazing gameplay. Reverie is the culmination of every Trails game to date, and has the best balance of gameplay and storytelling so far. Some have said Cold Steel 4 and Reverie are like the Avengers endgame of the Trails series. I can agree with this to an extent. If you want the most from the series, you're in for a long experience over multiple games. I would say the Trails games are more worthwhile than the recent MCU films though. This is part of why Reverie is such an underrated gem. It wraps up a lot of plot lines that were initiated during Trails in the Sky and are just wrapping up 9 games later. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here so that I won't ruin the experience for Fato. Basically, if you want a special experience, play Trails into Reverie, but only if you're willing to invest in the previous 4 games within the Erebonian arc. If you want to understand everything though, play Trails in the Sky and work your way towards Reverie, which is a must if you're going to play Trails Through Daybreak when that releases in the summer of 2024. Thanks again for having me on Fato Gaming. I cannot wait to see some of the picks from the other creators. Until next time, keep blazing that trail.
Hey everybody, it's Public Enema. Luca, thanks for having me on. For my game, I don't know if I can say it was underrated because it did win multiple awards this year, but I can certainly say it was overlooked, especially by me. And that game is Honkai Star Rail.
I was intrigued when it was first announced that Honkai Star Rail was coming to the PS5. I'm not a mobile gamer, and that's what my Switch and Steam Deck are for. But a new sci-fi turn-based RPG? That had my attention. I was in between games and not quite ready to fire up another 100-hour epic, so I finally settled in to try Honkai Star Rail for myself, and really enjoyed it. But let's get to the elephant in the room. Yes, this is a gacha title developed by HoYoverse of Genshin Impact fame. But behind the gacha is a surprisingly fun turn-based battle system that feels fairly reminiscent of Trails of Cold Steel, but, in space. The art design is great, the story is good enough to keep you interested, and the voice acting is high quality. The music is better than any free game has a right to be. My primary method of play so far has been the PS5, but the mobile app does control pretty well, and it's not the worst way to spend a lunch break. And the ability to crossplay between the 2 devices seamlessly is pretty nice. Maybe I've gotten lucky with some of my pulls, but I'm currently over 60 hours invested into this game and still haven't spent a penny. Everything I've read states that you can complete the main story with the free characters that you get with 0 issue. At first the gacha element scared me away, but then I thought about how much fun I had playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even if I did spend hours trying to farm Cosmos so I could actually beat the game with the full roster.
So don't let the gacha scare you away. Behind that is a pretty compelling turn-based RPG set in space, and there's just not enough of those out there. So don't be like me and overlook this one for way too long. You might find yourself enjoying it more than you thought. Anyway, Luca, thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to see what everybody else has as part of this collaboration.
Hi, it's me RetroMania, and thanks to Fato Gaming, Lucas from Fato Gaming for inviting me to his collaboration. And the game I choose for this collaboration for the most underrated, overlooked and underappreciated game for this year, it's Cross Tales. But to make one thing absolutely clear, I am not a furry. I repeat myself once again, I am not a furry. I'm totally a furry, but don't tell anyone else. But what exactly is Cross Tales? Well, Cross Tales it's a tactical strategy JRPG with a very unique art style and with a lot of fur, very soft fur. Again, not a furry. The game starts with a character select screen and you probably know which character I choose. Nice. But again, not a furry. The game also has a very deep gameplay loop and it's obviously inspired by old school strategy JRPGs, like for example the likes of Fire Emblem. One of the downsides of this game is that the game is obviously not voiced. It's a low budget title, so obviously there is no voice acting. If a lack of voice acting isn't a deal breaker for you and you want to play a tactical strategy JRPG with deep gameplay and unique art style and with a lot of fur, again not a furry, then this game is absolutely for you. Thanks again to my good old German friend Lucas for inviting me to this collaboration. Es war mir eine Ehre dabei zu sein. And thanks to all of you who listened to this old man talking about attractive animals for so long. And if you like what you see, why not check out my not so furry YouTube channel, wink wink. And I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.
My pick for the most underrated game of 2023 is Hi-Fi Rush. While this game got good reviews overall, I feel like this didn't get the attention it deserves. I mean, the Shadow Drop helped to get this game on a couple of people's radar, but it was also released at the end of January, a time where almost everyone talked about how bad Forspoken is, what great of a game the Dead Space remake is, and whether or not to boycott Hogwarts Legacy or not. Hi-Fi Rush is a character action game, where the beat of the music plays a crucial role because your character, enemies, and the world itself is synced to the music. While you can attack at any time you want, you get a significant advantage if you manage to land your hit on the beat. Same goes for dodging incoming attacks. Nailing the timing of attacking, dodging and jumping is super satisfying and creates a unique feeling as if combat is some kind of dance. Of course, timing your button presses to the beat isn't the only thing Hi-Fi Rush has to offer. You can expect some really creative and fun boss battles, a bunch of mechanics that expand the combat system to an approachable and engaging experience, and some great humor. Overall, Hi-Fi Rush is a unique, charming, creative, satisfying and super fun game that is second to none, and really underrated in my opinion. I hope more people will give this game a chance and see that this is actually one of the best games released in 2023. So there you have it, these 7 most underrated games of 2023. Thanks to everyone who joined me on this to recommend a game. Be sure to check out their channels, you can find all the links in the description. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, that would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, have a great day and I'll see you in the next video.